Lynn Haven Community Redevelopment Agency Board Meeting for Wednesday, September 25th, 2019. Item number 1 is the call to order. Item number 2 is public commentary. If there's anyone here who has anything you would like to bring before this board regarding the Lynn Haven Community Redevelopment Agency, this is your moment to speak. Yes, go ahead.
Janet Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. Recently, at a CRA workshop on September the 11th, I tried to get up and speak regarding some CRA budget items. And I did not mean to say that Ben should not have a new vehicle. What I was trying to say is I don't believe that new vehicles should be paid for with CRA funds. The reason being is that at the September 11th meeting, you mentioned that the new vehicle would help Ben get around and present the best face for Lynn Haven when he had visitors in town around our city. I believe that the economic development is a more appropriate place to fund the new vehicle. I can just picture Ben driving around the town showing prospective companies and organizations our city, which may be a good fit for them and a new place to operate from. Also, a lot of the CRA time where you now presently have the vehicle is designing projects or changes to the CRA designated area. A lot of that time is desk work and phone work. Not only that, we already have 2 reports. We have the CRA original plan from 2003, and we have a new expanded plan, 70-page expanded plan that includes the fuel depot. So I believe that both the car that you have slotted for the CRA budget and the $6,000 college course tuition that you have slotted to be paid out of the CRA, both of them should be moved to the economic development. Ben's master's is in business administration. Again, I feel that a master's in business education would be much more beneficial to economic development than it is to the CRA. So I'm up here to request that both of those items be moved out of the CRA budget into economic development. The CRA budget received very few funds to encompass all of the CRA area to do what we need to do. And according to the CRA statute that we are operating under, that all CRAs operate under, there are 5 major types of expenses allowed under Florida Statute 163-387, 6 in parenthesis, for tax increment revenue. If I can, I will read that. If you don't care for me to read that I don't need to.
I think we're well familiar. If you want to point out the one that you feel has relevance to what you're saying, that's certainly all right.
Okay. Well, the first one, establishment and operations. They can first, meaning the funds, can first be used for the implementation and administrative expenses of the Community Redevelopment Agency. I don't feel that a vehicle or college education fits in anywhere, any of the 5 of them. And I do realize that back when Mr. Barnes was here, and Vicki sent me the information, at a commission meeting, you asked the city manager at the time, Mr. Rob Jackson, whether or not he felt it was doable for Ben's college funds to come out of the CRA. And his answer was, well, it would fit in with administration or expenses. I personally think, in my opinion, it does not fit in with that. I think both of those expenses, the $6,000 college tuition and the $35,000 vehicle, should be under economic development. I didn't mean at the last meeting to imply that I felt Ben did not deserve either of those or shouldn't have any of that. I tried to say that it did not belong in the CRA.
I think you came across with that point at the last one, and we appreciate your input today. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to say anything about the CRA budget, including the board?
I don't have a problem moving that vehicle at all. I mean, the funds we use for CRA are to enhance, and I see later on we're going to discuss the issue of improvements, the store thing incentive program again? I mean, if we're going to entertain the incentive program, let's have the money for that, to get people up and going again.
I, if I may, just put this out there for everyone. Today, these budgets are being approved to meet state statutory requirements. And so the hope is that we would either pass these budgets as they are, or we would have to move to something else, another meeting, another back to square one. Because, and you can help me, Mr. Albritton, if I'm incorrect on this, but we have already had discussion of these items at the last meeting. We've already had the workshop. Today was basically just looking for errors. If there's a glaring error in these budgets that for some reason we need to correct, we can do that. I mean, obviously we need to do that if there's an error, but to start making changes today to these two budgets, I'm not trying to, squelch, we'll have a mid-year budget review again. But if we want to get these budgets done by the statutory requirements of the state, we really don't need to start moving items around, adding to, subtracting from. So, Mr. Albritton, would you like to add or correct me if I'm wrong on that?
Mayor, you're correct. With that said, the commission can approve or not approve or deny the budget that's being presented. One of the issues that this commission is going to have is that we presented a final budget to the public and to this commission with the anticipation that this will be the final budget. If we start making changes, we run the risk of needing to try and squeeze in a special meeting between now and the October 1 meeting. At the last meeting, particular to this issue, the commission did not seem inclined to move these two budgetary items, so they remained where they were. As far as opinions, I do believe it would fit under administrative. From a legal perspective, from where the commission believes it should be, that's obviously you're the policy makers. But I do believe that the CRA budget, as proposed, is a lawful budget, and it is ultimately for this commission to approve or deny. But if we start making changes, at some point we're going to have to look at setting this particular hearing for a special meeting and try and get it done quickly, because a final budget is intended to be that, a final budget.
And as we progress, I would leave that to the pleasure of the commission. Of course, you can, if you want to do that, I can certainly, get with the city manager. We can schedule another meeting. On the other hand, not to discredit Mrs. Walker's comments in any way, because I did hear her comments at the last meeting. I did understand what she was saying. If this room was filled with many, many, many people saying the same thing, but this is and not to discredit one voice, because I've been a lone voice many times and I felt like what I said was important. So I'm not discrediting a lone voice, but we don't have an uprising of everyone who lives in the CRA who is against what we have put forward as a budget. I don't see that happening. So that's just my input. If someone else has something else you want to say, please feel free at this time.
So this question is directed towards our attorney. So there is no way, it's either yes or no. There's no way to do yes with this exception or yes with this.
Not
today.
I know you said the
Okay.
attorney, but if you
Okay.
feel strongly about it, you can vote no on this budget. And if the other commissioners felt, don't tell me how you would vote, but if the others decided that they want to do the same thing, then we would just need to schedule another budget, but it has to be completed before October 1st. So that's a
Okay.
very tight schedule we're looking at.
Right. Thank you.
And Mayor, if you
Please
if
go
I
ahead.
will, we also have to re-advertise this in the paper because we've already advertised the budget. We have to follow state guidelines.
And again, as mayor, I would just say that I don't discredit when there's only one opinion. I think one lone voice has changed many things. But at this point, we did have a workshop at the last meeting. The same person said the same thing. I totally understood what she said. I don't know if you did. I did. I assume you all did, since none of you made the change. And so that's where I'm at. I saw your hand, Mr. Walker. Did you want to say something, please?
Just for clarification, we are still in public comment, right? So
We
this is
are
not
still
something
in.
we can.
No, we're
okay.
still in public comment, but you can. I mean, this is the meeting, and I think it's very important that we're clear. So as soon as Mr. Walker finishes, please jump in.
Thank you for acknowledging me.
Of course.
When this first came up, and you do rely on your advisory boards, I know you do, and you tout them when they vote 5-0 favor, okay? We did take a look at this budget, and these two items were not on the budget We did not get to see him. So we didn't say anything. And you never, nobody, none of the commissioners said anything about what we voted on. This is the first time I heard no comment coming about what an advisory board did look at. I did mention to this board that we did not see those two items.
Mr. Jenke, I believe you said you wanted to say something on, please go ahead.
I just want to make sure that I
You're
got
gonna
this
pull the
right.
microphone.
The two items that Mr. Walker was talking about, what was it exactly?
The vehicle and
The
your-
vehicle and the college expenses, those were the items you were
The-
referring to that the board had not seen?
The two items I'm referring to, the vehicle is number one, which is what we're really discussing.
Well, we're discussing two items, the vehicle and the college expenses.
Other was, can't remember what that one was. And there was two items that were not on the budget.
Well, my understanding of what
Maybe
you
this
just
is-
said was that the college expenses and the vehicle were not on that budget that you saw.
Well, I said there were two items that were not on the budget.
And they were?
The one was the vehicle, which is the one at Paramount. I do not remember which. one
Okay,
was.
so did you want to comment on?
Yes, I do want to point out that the advisory board's responsibility is to provide a list of projects and rank these projects. And that's what they did, this vehicle. And let's say if the other item was tuition, this would have been under administration. Why the advisory board was not included in this discussion.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Anything else from the board? Commissioner Russell, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, ma'am, it was just that I knew that we weren't going to be able to take action until further down the
Okay.
report.
All right, any more from the public? Last call. Okay, item number 3, approval of the meeting minutes from September 11th, 2019. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion of those meeting minutes from the board? Any from public? Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, and so those minutes are approved. Item number 4, read the title of resolution number 2019-09-02 with discussion and possible action to adopt a final CRA budget for the fiscal year 2019-2020. And I would ask Mr. Albritton, do we need to read the entire resolution or just by title since this is final?
Just by title, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gaynor?
Resolution number 2019-09-02, a resolution adopting a final budget for the Lynn Haven Community Redevelopment Agency for the fiscal year 2019-2020 and appropriating for the purposes specified redevelopment trust fund in amount specified for disbursement according to the said budget for the fiscal year 2019-2020.
Thank you. Is there a motion for discussion and possible action?
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and discussion for discussion and possible action. Is there any further discussion from the board? Is there any from the public? There is none. I suppose we probably need to, the way I framed that, it was not really for an action. So I need a motion to adopt the resolution, I would say at this point. Thank you.
So moved. Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any from the public? Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, and so the budget will be adopted at this time. Item number 5 is discussion and possible action regarding the reactivation of CRA incentives. Do we have any report on this or any discussion from Mr. Jenke? You want to?
This agenda item is in regards to the two incentive programs that we had in place in previous months for the CRA. It's the residential incentive program and also the storefront assistance program. The CRA board decided to freeze both incentives earlier this year in January because at that point we were not sure how Hurricane Michael would impact the CRA budget in the upcoming years. And at this point, we do know what the impact is. But at the same time, I would like to ask the board to consider the reactivation of this incentive program, simply because when you look around our community, people, a lot of people are in the process of finalizing their settlement with the insurance companies. The funds will become available, and I do want to give them, I do want to encourage them to stay here in Lynn Haven and rebuild their home here in the CRA. And that is an excellent tool that we could use to send out a strong message that, yes, we do want their business. We don't want them to leave and go and settle in another community. We want them to stay right here and spend their money here in the CRA.
Thank you so much. Is there a motion?
Mayor, I'd make a motion that we restart both those programs.
A second.
There's been a motion and a second that we would reactivate the CRA incentive programs. Is there any discussion from the board?
Yes, Mayor, if I may. Actually, how much, what are the funds right now in this program?
We have, go ahead, Ben. I'm sorry, I was trying to turn to the page. I think it was 40, wasn't it?
I placed overall at $65,000 in the budget for this upcoming year
Okay,
for both
so
incentives.
how many storefronts could we possibly do? 2? Don't they apply for 25,000?
Well, the maximum would be 27.5. That was never approved, by the way.
Okay.
Out of all of the applications that we have received over the years, this is a maximum amount. That doesn't mean that we have to spend that money. For the storefront assistance program, we have $30,000 in the budget, and the residential incentive program, it's $35,000 in the budget.
And how much can the residents apply for?
The maximum amount per residence is $5,000. You would have to build an 1,800 square foot home, heated and cooled area, so it's substantial.
Oh, thank you. And I have another question. I know we discussed this last year, as far as whether the contractors get these funds, that type of thing. And do I remember correctly, the contractor gets these funds?
My understanding is that whoever is building the home, I mean, whether it's a contractor or an individual, am I correct with that, Mr. Janke?
The property owner is eligible to submit an application. Can be any person, can be a contractor, whoever takes the risk to make that investment. I think that's anybody can really make that decision of building a house here in the Lynn Haven CRA, whether it's a contractor or a private individual. It's about taking the risk of making this investment and either putting it on the market or living in it.
Thank you. And
Go
I
ahead.
just want to refresh my memory as well. Did we not adjust the application for these items so that if you give out all the money in 3 or 4 projects, do we have anything on the application that does not guarantee them these funds if you run out right away?
We put a cap.
Yes, there's a first come,
did,
first
okay.
serve clause in the application. Nothing has changed on the application form or the procedure that we had in place before. So it's simply the request to reactivate it.
All that
you.
we're really doing, if I can just help here a little bit, is that after the hurricane, the city manager at that time just put a freeze on all of that just to make sure that we had funds available. And I would certainly, I think that by reactivating that, we'll do the same thing that we did yesterday in our meeting when we voted the tax abatement for the business. I think we're giving a message to anyone watching this, anyone looking at Lynn Haven. We are open for business. We want people to be here, and I think it's a very positive thing. So,
Mayor, if I may,
go ahead, Commissioner Russell.
Mr. Janke, we were talking about the 2 programs, but we also have the paint program. Did we not suspend it as well?
That is a brand new program that hasn't been approved by the CRA board yet. It's on my to-do list to bring this to the CRA board for final approval. So I do have an idea how I would like to structure it, but that still has to be approved.
Okay, excuse me, Mayor, I must remember
Go ahead.
incorrectly. That must be a discussion we had, but I thought we had talked about that at a previous commission meeting last year.
We did talk about it. We
But
just
we didn't
didn't
approve
move
it?
forward.
Okay.
But we'll look forward. We'll look forward to seeing it
Okay.
again. Is there any other comments about these CRA incentives? There's been a motion and a second. Are there any
Yeah.
comments from the public? I'm sorry.
If I
Pat,
may, Mayor, Mr.
Commissioner.
Dranky, this paint program have you budgeted for that this year?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Most
20,000.
is $20,000.
Okay.
Yes. And
Thank you.
It's not on this list right now because it doesn't officially exist at this moment. That's why I didn't
It's just
include it.
budgeted for.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Other comments from the public? Any comments? Yes, Mr. Walker.
Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. I have to answer all these questions as a citizen. I am the vice chair of the CRA Advisory Board. I just found out from Ben that what we are supposed to be doing. But here is the budget that was presented to the CRA Advisory Board. What you're doing here is today is approving it. When you approve this budget, he does it. Okay? And on it is the paint program. On it is the storefront insurance program. On it is the residential incentive program.
Mhm.
I was present and chair of the meeting that we did this. I, like the mayor, did not want to pass the gavel because I knew what was going to go down. From my personal opinion on the storefront and the residential incentive program, they've been a complete failure. The reason why I say that is this benefits the builder. And it's in the CRA area. And because you created a density, doubled the density for the lots, you created a water problem for the older people. Plus, you're giving the incentive to the builder. He comes in here, he buys the piece of property, and then he puts in for the $5,000, and he puts in for the $5,000 for two houses on what used to be just one lot. He gets the $5,000, he gets the incentive, he gets the impact fees reduced, and he gets the mobility thing reduced. All of a sudden, he builds the house, sells it, and he's gone. We're paying him to build these houses. In the storefront one, that was $27,500. Granted, we never got to that cap, but the two that were done got very close to it. And they had to almost take us to court over it. So what we asked a long time ago to citizens was to review these programs, rewrite them so that they would benefit the owner of the property if he's going to be living in there and get the benefit. That never happened. My point is this, from my observation of the CRA, the storefront and the residential incentive program, which are in the budget, which you're going to approve, did not work and caused a lot of ill will in this town. And we remember it quite well.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr. Walker. Is there any further discussion from the public?
Mayor,
And-
if you don't,
And I didn't reply actually to Mr. Walker because this is the exact same thing that Mr. Walker has said many, many times about, I mean, he is in complete disagreement with the storefront and with the builders. And I wasn't really going to say anything, but I have to because I do totally disagree. And saying that there's a large, discontent, I don't hear that. I don't have anyone calling me about it. I don't have anyone in this meeting standing up other than the one voice, which is an important voice. It's an important opinion, but it has worked. And it matters not to me whether an individual, a builder, a company who comes in here to build a new home in Lynn Haven, that someone's going to buy or rent and move in. It's better than a vacant lot. We are about rebuilding the city and rebuilding the CRA, and a beautiful new home that a family can live in is much more beneficial. They're paying taxes, they're using the businesses here, and because a builder is gone, as you say, it matters not. He built the home, he paid for the home, he accepted the incentive, and because of it, a family has a new home. So you and I disagree, and we disagree many times on it. I respect your opinion. I hope that you know that. But to say that it doesn't work is just simply not true. Does anyone else on the commission want to speak? I'm sorry.
Mayor, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I know that there are a lot of times me and you were on the opposite sides of things, but I couldn't agree with you more on this issue. To say it doesn't work, all you need to do is look at Gibbs Marine Building. I mean, that building was an eyesore to the city of Lynn Haven, and now it is a beautiful, I mean, it's Ace Hardware, but it's a beautiful building. And whether it's a contractor that owns the vacant lot or a homeowner that contracts a contractor to build it, if you're going to invest the money to buy the dirt, the building, you deserve to have the incentive. To say it's a contractor is just using words. If he owns the land, yes, he's a contractor, but he's also the homeowner. So it's semantics to call him a contractor because he is also the homeowner. Whether he sells it, that's no different than me selling my house. You know, if he builds the house, he has a right to have the incentive. I completely agree with these systems, these projects, and I think that the committee should consider approving them.
Anyone
Mayor.
else from, yeah, sure. Anyone else from the board?
Yes,
Yes,
Mayor,
Commissioner Aldridge.
I concur with, I think, everything that everyone has said, but I'm 100% behind incentives. I would like to see the CRA board possibly come back with some outside the box ideas on some new incentives. If we don't like the painting the buildings or we don't like some of these other things, let's go find another avenue in which we can help this area and be proactive in these things. But I'm 100% behind going and doing something. We are open for business. I agree with the mayor on that. We're inviting anyone that's willing to come look at Lynn Haven. We are an awesome place to live and grow a business, and we're here to support you. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Aldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes. Then item number 6, it does pass. Item number 6 is the adjournment of the CRA board meeting, and we will move right on into the Lynn Haven Commission meeting and see if we can quickly get through it. So the call to order